Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another stream of DragonClash. I'm Mark Arona, the creator of the game, and thought I'd take us through the latest update and play a few matches, discuss the game's release, which is just over a week ago. Go ahead and skip past this. So I hope everyone is doing well. Dragons young and old, small and large of scale. Let's see. I'm gonna turn on the tutorial slides so people can see what that's about. All right. So yeah, the game released just over a week ago. It went really well technically. I'm happy to say there weren't a huge amount of bugs, only a couple. I only saw one crash report, which I think was Unity based, not actually the game. So that was interesting. Still trying to track that one down, but no game-breaking bugs that I saw, which is always good. Yeah, did get some feedback from the community, which is great, which is what's kind of spurred the release of this particular update, 1.08. Overall, I think most people are enjoying the game. I am getting a lot of comments that it's pretty complex, which it is. It is a card game. It's got a lot of different strategic layers to it. A lot of mechanics that play off of each other. And the learning curve is a bit steeper than I would have liked. So I am conscious of that and reviewing feedback about how to make that a little bit more new player friendly. So yeah, actually most of the changes to 1.0 and 1.08 were driven by your feedback, so I appreciate that. Keep it coming. I'm going to, let's see, last stream we started with a red breather. I'm going to jump right into it. If you're new to DragonClash, it is a single player card game of strategic dragon combat. I'm not going to walk through all the basics again. My previous stream kind of did that, and it's available on YouTube. It's available on VOD. Feel free to check that out. I'm going to try to, I will touch on some of the basics, but I'm going to try to focus more on what I'm thinking strategically, and show off some of the new features that were implemented and discuss some of the upcoming features. Let's see where I am. Let's see, last time 17 and 3, level 3 layer. See my badges that I've been collecting. I have all the Steam, there are also 15 Steam achievements currently. I have all of them except for Inferno Breath, so I might try to go for that today. We'll see how sometimes the game pushes you in other directions than you intend. Let's see, I'm only 2 wins away from a level 3 layer, my blue Adept, so maybe I'll go for that. I also started with red breather last time, so I'm thinking we'll start with blue Adept this time. So yeah, DragonClash is in early access currently on Steam for PCs, and currently you can play the red breather and blue Adept decks. The silver channeler and brown mauler decks will be coming soon in early access, so purchase the game now. They'll unlock for you. It's part of the game, so it's not DLC or anything like that. Will be part of the early access package for you to enjoy. There's also a repeatable boss battle. I just fought her last night actually, so she won't pop up hopefully on this stream. If she does, I will concede the match so I don't spoil that for everybody. Let's jump in. Oil seeped into the Alaskan waters from the wounded barge, snaking across the surface like a glistening black serpent. Death washed ashore, and panic screams echoed across the coast. From the remains arose an egg, as large as a child and as brilliant as a sapphire. Then it hatched, and what emerged would change the fate of man forever. That little verse is referring to the birth of Oporokla, the first Dragonborn, DragonClash takes place in an alternate modern day world where Earth has been ravaged by human greed and pollution and war, and Spirit of Earth, Gaia, has summoned the dragons as her last defenders, Prokra being the first. She may or may not pop up later in the game as a boss. We shall see. Alright, so I mentioned DragonClash has a steep learning curve, but there are elements to help ease that. One of which are these tutorial slides, which you can turn off and on in the options menu. There's also a full rule book. I didn't point it out on the start menu, but there is a full, I think it's like 12 pages. So all the delightful, yummy information about the crunchy bits of the game can be found there, or you can just dive in and there is no tutorial match currently, as I talked about in the last stream. DragonClash is an indie developed game, so time and resources are ultra. They're ultra in. You have to budget them accordingly. So tutorials are an interesting dilemma for indie developers because it takes an immense amount of time, an immense amount of custom resources, graphics, scripting, that kind of thing, because a tutorial has to be scripted and has to be a predictable experience so that you can walk through the basics of the game. And if a lot of players are skipping that, or if it's not hitting the right notes, it's just wasted time, wasted resources, wasted effort. So I've been collecting feedback, listening to what you guys are stumbling on, listening to where you've gotten stuck, and I am working on a tutorial match to kind of ease people in. In the meantime, as a bridge, there are obviously videos out there that will help you learn the basics. There are these tutorial slides which will pop up to highlight some of the key mechanics in the game, and of course there's the rulebook. Or you can just kind of wade through and learn by doing. The game does throw you into the deep end currently. Don't get discouraged. But I will continue to add new features to kind of help ease the new player experience. Anyway, to this. This is Ryujin. He's a silver dragon, one of the first you'll meet in the game. He's talking about your dragon egg. And a dragon egg, again, is how you win, by capturing your opponent's dragon egg. One of the interesting points of feedback I got just yesterday, actually, was that player got here, closed out that first tutorial slide, and then didn't know what to do. Was afraid that they were missing something, which I found very interesting. So yeah, this end phase button will probably change to something like begin or something, just to make it perfectly clear that what happened right here is battle value is drawn to see who went first, and I drew the higher battle value. That's this number here by the cross swords, so I'm going first. And you actually do have to click this button to begin the game. Alright, so Ryujin is talking about range here, and range is a key element in DragonClash because certain cards can only be used in certain ranges. Close this out and show you one of the new things I added. You see these little tabs that pop out of the cards to the right. Those correspond, you'll see, to the different range icons here. So for example, Gaia's Breath, you can play that in any range. Tail Bash you can only use when you're in close range. So that will hopefully point you in the right direction. So if you're targeting Tail Bash, you can train Tail Bash from any range, but when you actually comes to actually attempting to use it during the attack phase, you have to be in close range. So Claw Attack is an attack we all dragons start with. So, and you see that can only be used in close range. The other information, the tooltip right above the card, tells you what this is your Dragon's Age card. It tells you what attributes are used. So in this case of Claw Attack, it's telling me I use my melee ability versus my opponent's body ability. Another new feature added to version 1.08 is this little preview. DragonClash does have some RPG light elements to it, so you will be training and improving your dragon throughout the match. And as I gather essence into my horde and then shed skin, my next age will be, that's what she'll look like, and I will get +1 body and +1 tactics. Also added this little handy hand counter, which also displays now your max hand size as well as your current hand size. Max hand size is important because some blue dragon attacks especially knock down or debuff your max hand size, specifically Ice Blood. So for all you Ice Blood lovers who want to attack your opponent's max hand size, well, now you'll be able to easily see that. There's also a handy little tooltip that shows you the current total essence you have. Essence is the cards in your deck, your hand, and the horde zone. And essence is used for everything from attacking to moving, and when you take damage, it's kind of also your life source. So essence powers your dragon, powers the world. Let's see, covered age cards. You'll see as I'm going to stick in close. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off now. There's now these little card highlights that's emphasizing you can do something with any of these cards. Currently, they're all lit up because I can actually hoard them into my my horde zone, and hoarding is how you shed skin. You need 2 cards in your horde here, and then these will let you see this card is not actually lit up yet because I can't do anything with it. I click on it, there's no buttons. Once I have 2 cards in my horde, I will be able to click on them and shed skin, and that's how I age my dragon. I'm going to go ahead. I didn't really review my opening hand with everybody, but let's see. I have 2 tail bashes, which is a great start, and no other attacks. So right away, I'm being pushed into a melee-focused blue dragon. I have claw attack and the tail bashes. Having 2 is important because the blue Adept specifically is a defensive-minded dragon. She needs all the help she can get attacking. So having 2 tail bashes means that I can aim strike later, and that will give me a +1 bonus to all my attacks whenever I aim strike. So that's important. I should also look for gifts or events that increase my attack attributes. This is an event, but it actually increases my defensive attributes, which is great as well. It's actually super powerful for the blue Adept because she's already hard to hit, and this just makes her that much more harder. Oblivion's Call is fun if I have my discard strategy going. The blue Adept is a discard-oriented dragon, whereas the red Breather, hey, we're actually not in a mirror match on stream. Look at that. The red Breather is more of a offensive-minded, straightforward, burn you down dragon, whereas the blue Adept works combos. It's a little bit harder to synergize some of her strategies, but has a lot of different options to play with. I also have 2 feast cards, which is a great start as well, because this is going to stunt Corlock's, that's my opponent, his growth. As he puts cards into his horde, I can then eat them, which means I should have a nice tempo advantage there. Let's see, and then Ren Gift, if and when Corlock plays a gift, I can make him discard it, so it's also handy to have. I have a lot of fun cards to start with, and a lot of choices here. I'm debating whether I want to put out Gaia's Breath. I have 2 events here. Events, you can only have 1 event in play globally, so if I put an event in play and then Corlock puts an event in play, it will discard mine. So I'm leery of leading out with my event because he might then just counter it with his own, and then I'll lose it. There's only 1 Gaia's Breath in my deck, so while it might cycle, it probably won't see it again for a good long time. I do have this event though, but I really don't want, this affects both dragons and it will knock max hand size down to 4. which I don't really want to do because that will also harm me, and I have a lot of cards I want to keep. So I'm just going to, since I have 2 events, I'm going to hoard. I'm going to hoard Oblivion's Call. All right, and the use actions phase. You have 2 actions per turn. If you don't use them, you can rest, and that's how you regain some of your essence. I mentioned you spend essence to use attacks, and some cards as well. When you take damage, well, how you regain it, you can rest, you can heal, you can check my volume settings. Yeah. Alright, so we're on the attack phase. You just notice the claw attack lit up. If I happen to be in distant range, because claw attack has to be in close range, if I happen to be in distant range, it would not light up. But it's saying I can use it. So let's look at claw attack. Claw attack is great because at rank 1, which is what we're at now, it costs 0 essence and only does 1 damage, so it's kind of a little love poke. But it's free to use, so as long as I keep it at rank 1, I have this free to use attack. And rank depends on the number of instances of claw attack I have in play. I have 1 claw attack in play, that's what it's showing me there. So it's rank 1. There are some gifts and stuff that will buff my rank, but right now it's just rank 1. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for free. Korlach just played a counter. Okay, I still hit him. His counter buffed all of his defensive attributes. So that's why you see now it was 1 versus 1 before, now it was 1 versus 2. Those numbers are added to the battle value of the card drawn from the top of your deck. So his 2 was added to the 1 for a total of 3. My 1 was added to the 6 for a total of 7. That's a very definitive hit. Sunk that claw in deep, and so I did 1 damage, which is why you saw him have to discard a card from the top of his deck. These cards now go back to the bottom of our respective game decks. And that's the end of my turn. Alright, Korlach is going to do his thing. Oh, great. So I mentioned that I have feast cards. Well, Korlach had a feast card of his own, so this is a good time to point out the graveyard, which has a little twit slip over it, for those who may have not seen it in the rule book. But click on that, and you can see which cards were removed from either dragon. In this case, we did lose 2 battle value cards. Not horrible. Korlach's is empty. And alright, so he also hoarded a card. So I have the option here to feast, and he would only lose 1 card though. As mentioned in the last stream, I'm a little greedy. I like to maximize my feast value, so I like to wait until the opponent has 2 cards in their hoard. It does mean he's probably going to age next turn. This is the downside, but maximum tempo value is great. Alright, well, I'm back to, so this is the, in addition to losing 2 cards, even though the loss of these 2 cards wasn't horrible, the tempo loss was more of a hit. I'm still a hatchling. I got to put 2 cards back in my hoard. I got to start all over again from that aspect, and it's very possible he could have another hoard card. So I think I'm just going to put 1 in this time, and I'll go ahead and play Gaia's Breath. You'll see that now I have the icon here in my effects box, and it shows me while my attributes are 2 now, because it does +1 body, +1 will, +1 resist. That's these icons: body, will, and resist. This is melee, magic, and breath. This is spirit, which dictates how many cards you regain at the beginning of every turn from your discard pile back into your game deck. Tactics dictates how many which cards you can play. For example, Tail Bash is a Tactics 1 card, so I can play that right now since my Tactics is a 1. There are some attacks that require more Tactics, so you can't just use all the most powerful attacks right off the bat. You have to train your dragon first. And the last one attribute was ability. Ability dictates how many instances of particular card you can have in play. So I can only have one claw attack in play currently. I can't play 2 of my tail bashes yet until I train my dragon. I can only play 1. We'll go ahead and try to claw attack. Alrighty. Another hit. I like it. So now his claw attack is 1v2 because my body is up to 2 now because of Gaia's Breath. Quite handy. Korlok did Hoard and then Shed Skin as his 2 actions. Ooh, okay. And he smacked me good too. You can see now he's an age 2 child. His next age he'll gain +1 breath and +1 ability, which means he'll be able to put 2 instances of a claw attack in play, for example. And he'll also have some skill with his breathing. It'll be a developed flame stack to use his multitude of breath attacks. I took 1 damage from the claw attack. You'll see now as I end phase, the beginning of a turn is a regain essence phase, and that's when I draw however many cards my spirit dictates, in this case 1, from the top of my discard pile back into the bottom of my game deck. So that's what's happening here. You'll see it. Soup. Give me that essence back. And that's how you cycle cards back into your deck. In that sense, you want to try to get rid of your, not necessarily get rid of, you don't want to just waste them, but you don't want to keep a lot of high battle value cards in your hand or on the board. You want to get them in your discard pile so you can get them back in your, cycle them back in your deck so that you can then draw them for combat resolution or for whatever resolution. Some cards have effects that require battle value. Alright, we're back in range phase here. I want to stay in close. I have no reason to move yet. 2 actions. Feast cards are useless because he doesn't have anything in his board currently. I think I'm going to go ahead and age while I can. I have 2 run gifts now. But what's interesting is I have nothing in my discard pile because I haven't taken a ton of damage yet. One of the perks of shedding your skin is you get to draw what's called recall the bottommost attack in your discard pile. So when I shed skin, you choose 1 card to keep and you choose 1 card to discard. So in this case, if I'm thinking ahead, thinking strategically, I have nothing in my discard pile. So if I keep Ren, you see it's glowing now. If I keep Ren Gift because I can shed skin, that means I'll discard Tail Slash. But since that will be the only and the bottom most attack card in my discard pile, I'll immediately recall that back to my hand. So in that sense, I can actually keep both of these cards. If I did it the other way around, if I kept Tail Slash and returned it back to my hand, then Run Gift would be discarded. I would not recall that because that's not an attack card. So I'm going to go ahead and do this to maximize my hand. I am now a child. Next age, +1 magic, +1 ability. That's good. I need some magic, although I'm not actually using any attacks that utilize magic. The Blue Adept does have a number of magic-based attacks later on. I have no actions remaining because I hoarded and I shed skin, so let's continue on. I'm sticking to the claw attack. I'm going to keep poking away. Korlok is using those counters. He's terrified of my 1 damage claw, apparently. Alright, I have to discard 1 card. You'll see now my current hand size is 8, max is 7, so it's saying I have to discard 1. I have 2 Ren Gifts. I don't think I'm going to need them both. I'm going to go ahead and discard it. And I could have just done that before and saved myself, but I like doing it at the end of the turn, just give myself as many options as possible. You never know. Sometimes there are events that you can draw a card at the end of your turn, so I always like to save that until the end so I can survey all of the options. Korlok is also sticking to melee attacks currently. Alright, so he trained in this highlighted here because it's telling you what he just attempted. I added that because sometimes, even though it does pop up with the animation, you might be looking away, or you might be looking at your dragon, and you could miss that. So that was one another item I added to the last version, 1.08, just so you can kind of say, wait, what was I just attacked with? Oh yeah, claw attack. But let's look at Flame Tongue for a second. Flame Tongue is a 2 tactics card, so he couldn't play that right off the bat. He had to age his dragon, which he did. As a child, that's why you see his tactics here is 2. You can also see that if you roll over. If you have your tooltips on in the option menu here, have them on, these things will pop up, and you can see he has 1 spirit, 2 tactics, 1 ability, so you don't have to keep clicking down into your age card if you don't want to. But it's a 2 tactics card. It's can only be used in close range, and uses melee versus my body. You can see it actually does use more essence than claw attack, but it does a lot more damage. It also has this nifty debuff when you get to rank 3. He probably didn't attempt it, even though he could have, because he was in close range, because I have Gaia's Breath. I mentioned I'm a defensive dragon anyway, plus Gaia's Breath makes me a virtual, I'm just basically a virtual wall, essentially. I'm an armored tank here, and although I can't hit, but 3 body is pretty ample. What can I say? I have a nice bod, but his melee is only a 2, so ties go to the defender. So the fact that I'm already +1 up on him meant that I have a significant advantage. So if you're going to have a significant advantage, why not use the free attack? So he's basically just waiting right now until he can either get rid of Gaia's Breath, or perhaps he'll aim strike later. We shall see. Oh, okay. Wow, choices. So I can stay as my tank here with my Gaia's Breath. I also have Gaia's Wisdom now, which is another event, but playing this will now discard Gaia's Breath. However, this will give me that +1 to all my attack attributes that I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, which is ultra important, because right now we're even, so it's a slight advantage to him as ties go to the defender. I don't really care too much because it is a free attack, but once I start tail bashing, which I will do shortly probably. I also have his tail slash. I didn't look at that, but that's a 2 tactics, another tail oriented attack. It combos well with Taunting Breath, which we haven't seen yet. I don't have a Taunting Breath in play, so I might as well just stick with Tail Bash. I haven't seen a Taunting Breath yet, and I have 2 of them, so I'm going to stick with Tail Bash. And I'll play 1. I can only play 1 because my ability is 1. If I open up Tail Bash, I just say I don't have a play. If you don't see that play card button, it probably means you either don't have the tactics to play the card, or in this case I don't have the ability to play another Tail Bash, but I can hoard it if I wanted to. I don't. Do I want to play Gaia's Wisdom yet? I think I'm gonna hang with Gaia's Breath, see if he counters it, and then I can counter his event with my Gaia's Wisdom. I'm gonna go ahead and put Tail Slash in my hoard. I could also play it, but I don't want to spread myself too thin. I have 2 melee attacks here. That's just fine for me. See, now I have Claw Attack and Tail Bash are both lit up. I'm gonna go ahead. So the thing with Tail Bash is you can train it early. Hatchling can swing that tail as much as they want, but it's a expensive attack to use. You see, it's 2 to use even at rank 1, and I'm only regaining 1 card a turn, so I will be using essence faster than I can regain it. So I have to be careful about using Tail Bash, because whether you hit or miss, I'm still spending 2. And you can quickly bury cards in your discard pile that you might not want to bury if you just swing recklessly with Tail Bash. Still, I do like the damage potential, and I have nothing in my discard pile yet, so let's go for it. Of course, it doesn't help when when my opponent draws 6s, and he did. So yeah, that was a big thud. Alright, what do we got, Korlak? What do you got for me? More feasting. I haven't even used my cards yet, but I will next turn. Now that we have 2 in the horde. Payback. Let's take a look at my Reckless, Oblivion's Call, Tail Slash. All cards I can live with. It's the tempo loss that sucks more than the cards in this case. Constrict. I think that's the first counter we've seen. At least on my side, he's played a few counters in those defend cards, but Constrict is a blue Adept specific counter. It takes 3 tactics to use, but if you love hugs, and who doesn't love hugs, Constrict card is the card for you. On counter, the opponent, the attacker, because you counters you play on the attacker's turn, so when he attacks, you have a chance to play your counters. So the attacker discards 1 card from hand or horde, your choice. You pick the zone, they pick the card, and it doesn't matter. It's automatic. It will always happen. Regardless of whether they hit or miss, you get to hug them to death. All you have to do is spend 5 essence, which is not an insignificant amount, but by the time you are at tactics level 3, you should be regaining 2 to 3 essence anyway, so that kind of mitigates the cost a little bit. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is an expensive attack, especially end game. If you're low on your essence, you have to watch out for that. But if you're on the discard train, this is a great counter to have. It can only be used in close range though, so you have to be conscious of that. If your opponent is in distant range, you will not be able to use that counter. We will be going to close because our attacks can only be used in close. Let's do that feast. Let's eat some essence. Yum 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 yum. Delicious. It's funny. I've been watching. I don't know if any of you have been watching the Dark Crystal special on Netflix. Big fan. Nostalgia kick. But they're eating essence in Dark Crystal currently, so it reminds me of that. Anyway, claw attack, run gifts. I don't have any gifts in play, so neither of those cards were a big loss for my opponent, but tempo loss. Now he's got to replace those cards before he can age, so we're both stunting our respective growths here. I do have 1 action remaining. What should I do? What should I do? I'm going to go ahead and hoard a card. I'm going to hoard this Constrict. I can't use it. It's a risk. If he has another feast card, I could lose his 6 battle value card, which would suck. But I don't want to risk. As cards go, I have more immediate use for these. I want to keep this Ren gift just as a counter to any gifts he might play. I have 2 high battle value cards in my discard pile. If I use my Tail Bash, I will start burying those cards. By burying, I mean these cards will be at the bottom of my discard pile. Now, Frost Breath I can recall. Remember I mentioned you can recall attacks, and it's the bottommost attack, so this will be the next card I recall. But I don't want to bury this Feast card. Not only is Feast valuable, but it's a 5 battle value card. I want to give myself a chance to cycle that back into my deck. So instead of Tail Bashing, which will put 2 cards from my game deck on top of my discard pile, I'm going to go ahead and Claw Attack, which is free. So this card remains at the top of my discard pile. And assuming I don't take any damage, which, I do have a high defense still, I will cycle that Feast card back into my deck. We are... Oh, okay. We're double hoarding again, which opens up our other Feast card. And he did miss. Excellent. It helps when I draw 6s. So now I will regain this Feast card. See, I love it when plans just come together like that. So that feast card's back in my deck where I can hopefully draw it later, or use it to resolve attacks. 5s are almost as good as 6s. You'll see now Burst is glowing up. This first burst card we've seen. Burst can be used on any select range phase. So you see, this is if you ever get confused of where you are in a turn, this is the phase indicator. So we are in the select phase. At the end of select phase range, we can move for free with burst cards. So he can play a burst card, I can play a burst card, he can play a burst card. We can play as many as we have in our hand, as many as we want. This is how. Remember, I mentioned Constrict is a close range only counter. Well, say he was in distant, and I had that in hand. I wanted to use it. I could play burst, and burst on his turn. I could burst back into close, so that I can then counter. Use that counter on his attack phase. Right now, I don't really care. I mean, I do care. I want to stick in close. I don't want to go into distant. There's no reason to. So I'm going to also keep this in case if I want to use it later for my counters. I'm going to stick in close. I'm going to pass instead of using my burst card. Alright. I'm going to use a feast. More essence. More. Alright. We got Claw Attack, Ren Gift. Ooh, yes. We got rid of a nasty gift. Bloodlust. Some gifts have positive and negative effects. This is this is an example of that. It does have the awesome ability to buff all of your ranks. Remember, I mentioned there were some cards that will buff your ranks. Even though I have 1 Claw Attack in play, if I had Bloodlust, it would up my rank to 2. It does have the downside of having a -1 to your Spirit rating. So if he was to play that now, his Spirit is a 1, it would be a 0, which means he would regain the big goose egg at the beginning of every turn. No cards. So he would be stymied from regaining cycling cards back into his deck unless he used heal cards or rested. But again, as he trained, his Spirit would go up, and then that would make Bloodlust a little less damaging in that aspect. But again, having +1 rank to all of his attacks, that would make his Flame Tongue a rank 2 and make his Claw attack a rank 2. Ooh, and he also lost a Fire Breath, so he lost a 4 battle value card, and a pretty powerful gift, and a 5 battle value card. And this is not the best breath attack available to the Red Breather, but it's close. It's pretty close. An immense amount of damage, an effect that kicks into if you have a rank 3+, an effect that has a little bit of damage over time. Good stuff. Surprised he hoarded that. He's only got 3 cards in hand now, so he must have some fun stuff. If he's hoarding a Fire Breath, I'm guessing he probably has. I'm guessing he probably has some Inferno Breaths in hand that he's holding on to. That would be my guess. I'm going to go ahead and I only have 1 action remaining. This is a risk. I could hoard my second card, but because I only have 1 action remaining, I can't shed skin this turn. So if I put 2 cards into my hoard, and he's got a feast card, I haven't been keeping track of how many I know he's got 2. He's 1 right here. He's got another one at the bottom of his deck somewhere. Has he played more than 2? I haven't been keeping track. There's 4 in each deck, so. You know what, I'm going to put the Ren gift card in. I'll gamble that he doesn't have another feast card and the 3 cards he has in hand. Again, I'm in the same position I was last turn. I have a feast that I just played. I would like to cycle that back in, so I'm just going to stick with Claw Attack, even though I could go for the more damaging Tail Bash. He played a counter, Jaw Snap. It's a, whoops, wrong way. Yeah, it's one of the nastier Red Breather counters, and if I had missed, I would have taken 5 damage. So the defender, that's him in this case, inflicts 5 damage to the attacker if my attack misses. Luckily it hits. I will not be taking 5 damage. do you have in hand? Not much. Not much. It's asking me if I want to burst. I can remember I can do that on the end of any select range, his or mine. Now the interesting strategy, if I was worried about these cards, and right now I'm not because my defense is so impenetrable right now. But if I was worried, if he had a little bit more breath attacks going, he's hurting here development-wise. And sometimes that happens. I've lucked out in that sense where I started with Gaia's breath, and he doesn't have a lot of his more powerful breath attacks, which I think he's still trying to get to the next stage. He doesn't have any breath ability anyway, so I'm in a great position here. But if I didn't want him to be able to use these attacks on his turn, but you see they're both close range attacks, I could now use my burst card, and I could burst in a distant range, and that would prevent him from attacking at all, unless he played some ranged attacks during his turn. However, I'm not too worried about that, since I have an awesome defensive spread. Okay, you saw him only hoard one card and rest. That's why you saw him regain some essence there. He had one action remaining, which he didn't use. If you have one action remaining that you don't use, you get to regain 2 essence. If you have 2 actions remaining and you don't use any of your actions on your turn, and you just pass, you'll actually do a major rest, and that's 5 essence you regain. He probably didn't bother using he didn't hoard a second card because he's protecting his egg. I am a blue adept. He is conscious that I have a lot of discard-oriented counters. So this tells me that his egg is probably in his hand, which is generally where it is. You don't want to risk you can put it in your hoard in a pinch, but you generally don't want to because one feast and I gobble up that egg and I win the game. So this tells me the egg is probably there and he wants to protect it, have a 1 card buffer in case if I have some discard effects. Alright, which I don't, so alright, Siphon Life. I think that is my first gift of the game. It's a blue adept specific gift. It's a gift that allows me to use it every turn. All I have to do is spend an action and I get to draw a card. And it gives me +1 to all my attack attributes. Mentioned blue adepts have to find ways they need a little help getting those attack attributes up. Well, there's a number of ways to do that. I mentioned you could aim a strike. There is Gaia's Wisdom, an event that buffs your attack attributes. There's Siphon Life, which buffs your attack attributes. So there's a number of ways to do it. Obviously it depends on which card you draw. It is a card game, so there's some variance. But in this case you're seeing all kinds of options pop up. It's worth playing that, I think. I doubt he has a Ren gift card, but... Alright, here's an example where not all the cards lit up this time. Previously, a lot of times all the cards were lit up because I always had a hoard action available. Well, I can't hoard a card anymore because my hoard's full. I have 2 cards in my hoard. They're all lit up. So in this case, it's showing me I can't use bursts because I'm not during the select range phase, and I can't hoard it. I can't play Tail Bash because I can't hoard it. I can't play Tail Bash because I still am stuck on this 1 ability, but when I age, I'll have 2, and then I can play my second Tail Bash. I can't do anything with my Dragon Egg. You can't hoard it in this case because it's full. But I could play an event, and I could play a gift. So, but first thing I'm going to do, first things first, is I'm going to have to decide which card I want to keep. I'm going to keep Ren Gift and discard Constrict. And even though Constrict is a fun counter to have available, I can't use it yet. 3 tactics, and I want that high battle value to cycle back into my deck, hopefully. Once I do Shed Skin, you'll see I will regain this Frost Breath because it is the bottommost attack in my discard pile. In this case, it's also the only attack card in my discard pile. So I will Shed Skin. I'll keep Ren Gift. You always select the card you want to keep. There's Frost Breath. Now they're all lit up. and that's because now I have Horde available. I can put a card in my Horde. I also have 2 ability, so I can play this second Tail Bash, which I will do. Now I can either, actually you'll see it now, I can either see this, it's aim strike option, it's giving me that option now. You can either attack at your normal rank, which is 2, because I have 2 cards in play. That's what this number is telling me. I have 2 instances of Tail Bash in play. I can either attack at rank 2, which would cost 3 essence and do 6 damage. Nice. Or I can drop a rank and aim, which would be 2 essence at 4 damage, and I would get +1 to all my attack attributes for the turn. So in this case, I would get +1 melee to resolve my attack. Now, doing that, do I want to bury my Constrict card? Not really. But I do want to win. And I need to start doing damage. I don't have any discard ability. Although, if I do get another Tail Bash, I'll have a discard option open up at rank 3. If I hit him with my Tail Bash at rank 3, he'll have to discard a card. And he's lined up perfectly for that to happen if I can manage to pull another Tail Bash. So in this sense, is doing 4 or 6 damage worth more to me than potentially burying this card? I don't want to. I'm still only regaining 1 a turn. If I do a rank 2 Tail Bash, I'll be discarding 3. So Constrict will be the 4th card down. It'll take me a while to get back to that. Oh. I'm thinking. I want that counter back. I'm not gonna get greedy yet. I'm gonna use the Free Claw attack, which will keep my Constrict right where I want it, so that I can regain it next turn. Assuming I can dodge this attack, which I've been doing an excellent job doing so far with my fat body of 3. I don't want to burst. I'll stay here. You're free to swing away at me. Alright, he finally leveled up too. Sticking with that claw attack because he's scared. He's scared of missing and spending that essence. And probably justifiably so, because even though I drew a 1, I had the 3 body, so 3 plus 1 is 4. He drew a 2. 2 and 2 is 4. Ties go to the defender. In that case, it was me. So I just missed. Alright. I want to stick in close. I do not want to burst. I will pass. I'm going to go ahead and play Siphon Life. I will then use Siphon Life. You see Siphon Life is now lit up, telling me I can now do something with it. What can I do with it? I can Siphon. I can spend that action. I have 1 remaining. I'll draw a card. And I gained +1 to all my attack attributes, I hope. Yep, there's the icon in my effect bar. You see all my attack attributes went up. Perfect. Now, I have nothing in my discard pile. I regain that Constrict card. Plan successful. And now, because I use Siphon Life, I have a +1 melee already. So it's 2 versus 1. I don't need to aim strike to get that +1. I could pile on the advantage, have a 3-to-1 advantage. But now I'm going to get a little greedy. I'm going to use attack rank 2, and I did hit. Even though he drew 6, I drew 6. I had a +2, he only had a +1, so I had the higher total. I dealt a significant amount of damage. I did have to discard some cards. Let's see what I discarded. Defend, I don't care. I got a Feast card in there, which I do care about. Tail Slash is the bottom most. It is also the only attack card in my discard pile. I'll probably end up regaining that though next turn, so I doubt I'll get to recall it, assuming I'm able to keep dodging. I feel like the blob with 3 body. No one moves the blob. Alright. Hoarding. Hoarding. I don't have any feasts. He's claw attacking because you cannot hit the blob. Let's see. So he already got a +1 breath. He's gonna get another +1 breath. Luckily, he's got no breath attacks. He hoarded his only breath attack, and I ate it. Delicious fire breath. Thank you. He's got more in his deck. He just hasn't drawn them. So, sucks for him. Perfect for us. So I did regain that. Oh wait. Oh. Wait a minute, what happened here? Oh, Feast is at the bottom. Okay, so Feast is at the bottom. I confused that. Defend is the next one. Alright, so I do want to get that Defend card out of the way so I can get that Feast card back in my deck. How do I want to do that? Well, I have a ton of burst cards. Holy mackerel. I'm well positioned if I ever get some counters. What do I want to do? Well, when in doubt, hoarding is always good, and I have 3 burst cards. I don't think I'm going to need all 3 of them. I also have this heal card. I mentioned this is another way of regaining essence. It's kind of a waste now. I haven't been taking any damage because my body has been on point, and I have not been getting hit at all. So I'll go stick that in my hoard. Got to keep up. I'm gonna stay. Now wait a minute here. Now I mentioned Siphon Life is only for the turn, so I'm back to 1 versus 1 here, which is advantage him. I'll go ahead and do an aim strike, which will bury that. Yeah, I'm gonna alternate. You know what? I'm gonna do some damage. I'm gonna aim strike, get that +1. Ooh. Okay, well that sucked. Alright, well I got the +1, but it didn't matter because 2 + 3 is 5, 1 + 5 is 6. He had the significantly higher in defense, so I missed. What sucked is I now discarded 2 cards to attempt that failed attack. Let's go. So, Tail Slash is at the top. Go backwards, then it's heal, defend, feast. So, yeah. That wasn't great. I'm only going to regain 1 at the start of my turn, so this is why when I mentioned about burying, you want to be careful about what cards you bury. In this case, Feast is getting buried. I do not want that. I do not like that. I do not want green eggs and ham. Ooh, a breath attack. Okay. And he's going for it. Alright. But we both drew 1s. Ties go to the defender. So yeah, his breath attack is significantly, because my defense is a 2 breath and I have a 3 body, I have a slightly lessened defense against breath attacks. So he's got at least a fighting chance to hit me with that, which he took, he gambled. He failed. I would love another tail bash so I can get my, although I don't have the 3 ability to play it, so it doesn't really matter, I suppose, yet. Now that he's got a breath attack, he'll probably be moving into distant range, which makes these burst cards more valuable, so I will keep them. I will not spend them yet. I will, I'll take that burst card back. I have no attacks. 2 heals, heal. See that because of the little counter here, so it's saying top card is heal, next card is heal, then I got defend, feast. No attacks to recall, which kind of sucked. Alright, let's see. Where am I at? I'm going to be regaining 2 cards now, which is helpful because if I spend 2, basically I'll just be regaining whatever I spend if I stick to aimed attack and do my rank 1. What do I want to do? What do I get next? So next I have melee and tactics coming up. So I'll have a 2 and a 3 tactics, which is great. I could start playing Frost Breath if I wanted to. However, I have a 0 breath. I am not great at breath attacks. Yet. But it is an option. And with Gaia's Wisdom and with Siphon Life, that's +2 right there. Plus Aim Strike, it's +1, so I could easily go from 0 to +3. That's how all these cards stack nicely together. That's the help you are going to need as a blue adept. If you prefer just a straightforward, I just want to attack and just damage you as fast as possible, stick with the red breather. The silver channeler is also pretty nasty when he comes out later in early access. He'll be blasting you with lightning bolts, ultimate power. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? I guess I will... I think I'm going to Siphon Life. I'm going to grab a card. I'm going to just... Sometimes you just have to chalk up these losses. I think I'm just going to chalk up this Feast card as a loss. I want to start doing more damage, so I will do that. Alright, I have to discard 2 cards. Cards do I want to cycle? I'll go ahead and put... I'm going to recall both of these probably. So I don't want to get rid of my Frost Breaths yet. I'll go ahead and put a Burst in. Now the order matters because the topmost card will go at the bottom first, so I'll put Reckless. It's a counter, but it's a weak counter generally. Alright. I will not. Well, if I had a counter that required me to be in close range, I would burst back. In this case, I'm fine sticking where it is. I have nothing. I could burst to safe range, which would prevent him from Ember Breathing. But I'm fine with gambling on the 2 versus 2. Oh. Okay. So now he's got a rank 2. He could have aimed strike, but Corlock is a particularly aggressive dragon, intentionally. He does not like aim striking, so if it's even, he tends to not aim strike, he tends to go for maximum damage. In this case he missed, which helps. This Gaia's Breath is coming in super handy. You can see where it really does change the complex of the game. Just having that massive body and now having equal value versus his breath, super helpful. And he hasn't been able to counter it so far. Here's that counter I mentioned, close range counter. So this is an instance where he'll probably move to distant. I gotta move to close because I need to be in close so that I can tail bash or claw attack. I could have bursted back to close for free, but I'll spend the 1 essence to move back. That's what those numbers are. If you saw the numbers on the close, distant, and safe, that's how much essence you have to spend to move to that respective range. I could have bursted back for free, but I wanted to save bursts to get back into range during his turn so that I can use these counters. Okay, 2 actions remaining. 2 actions. Boy, I like all these cards. I'm going to put a Burst in, put a Ren Gift in. I want to keep aging, keep shedding that skin. I like Taunting Breath, I like 2 heads. Oh, there's that third Tailbash I need. I have 4 of them in my deck, so there's one of them. So I do want to not bury that Tailbash. Is that the bottom most attack card? Let's see. Let's go to the very bottom. Feast, defend, heal, heal. Is that 3 heals in a row? 5, 4, 3. Wow, 3 heals in a row. And Tailbash. Okay, so that is the bottom most attack cards. I will recall that, which is perfect. So I don't mind burying it in this case. 1 versus 1. I'm going to aim strike. I missed. I like it. I was on a roll before. And that he healed before too, so all that nice damage I had started piling up is coming back. Alright, so he moved it distant. This is a case where you'll finally get to see me actually play a burst card. I will play it. It's asking me because I'm in distant, I can go to close or I can go to safe. I'm going to go back to close. He is going to spend his actions. He's Ember Breathing. I will Bitter Chomp. Bitter Chomp is if he misses, he has to discard a card, hand or horde. I choose the zone. He chooses the card. I will probably, if I had, it doesn't matter because he hit. If he had missed, I would usually go for the horde because that's a tempo loss in addition to a card loss. But if I had an attack trained up like Tailbash or Taunting Breath combo with that counter, which would force him to discard, I could use Bitter Chomp to make him discard a card from his hand, and then use that attack to make him discard his last card, which I suspect is just Egg, and win the game. I don't have Tailbash up to 3 yet, so it doesn't really matter. And as I said, I got hit anyway, so Bitter Chomp was a fail. Alright, I'm going to stick in close. I'm going to keep this burst because if I get another counter later, there's that third Tailbash I wanted. I recalled it because it was the bottom most attack in my discard pile. Now I have a 3 tactics, which means I could play Frost Breath. However, I do not have a 3 ability. That's the symbol on the right there. I have a 2. Which means even though I have that third Tailbash card, I cannot play it yet. So I have to keep leveling my dragon. So I'll continue starting that. I could go for Frost Breath, but 0 versus 1, and I don't know. Maybe I could have. I'm fine going with 2 versus 1 here. Unfortunately, I am flopping with his tail. Must be my big body. I have a big tail, it's hard to move. What do you want me to tell you? I mean, try swinging this thing around. Alright, I do not want to burst. I don't have any counters. I'm fine sticking in distant. I feel like I need to come up with a plan of attack here. Because he's beginning to get some ripe breath attacks here. He's not hitting me with them yet. And yet my essence is just... I mentioned that Tailbash is a risky attack to just swing around. This is why. You see how I'm losing essence? I haven't even been getting hit. I'm basically damaging myself. Yeah. So, not great. And then I'm going to be, I could burst to get back into close range for free. But here's some more essence I got to spend. There's 1 card just to move back into close. I'd rather do that though than spend my last burst card. Let's go ahead and shed skin. I'm going to keep this counter just in case. look at a Taunting Breath. It's the first Taunting Breath I've seen all game. It's kind of the signature attack of the Blue Adept too, so it makes me a sad dragon that it hasn't popped up earlier, but it's heavy discard based. As you can see, it does no damage. The damage is discard, so if I had that earlier, I could be training that up. I mean, I could still play it now. If I had some counters to combo with it. I don't though. So I think I'm on the 3 Tail Bash plan right now, because that will do damage and discard. So it's gonna exhaust me though, swinging my big tail around. Alrighty. 2 versus 2 now. I'm gonna aim strike with it. Get that 3 versus 2. Save in essence. Oh, great. Now it's 3 versus 3. Oh, I still hit though. Yeah, see, it's 3 versus 3 because he played a counter. If you're just joining us, where is it? Yeah, the defend. It's +1 to all of his defensive attributes. But I hit him anyway. Discard a card. Hate to do it, but I only have one of you, so I'm going to go ahead and discard you. Am I at 3? Yes, I'm at 3 abilities, so next turn I can play this 3rd Tail Bash. I'm fine with that. What is it now? 2 versus 2. I'm gonna go ahead and play this. Make it 2 versus 3. Oh, didn't matter because he drew a 6. 6 is not an automatic hit, but you know, 6 plus 2 is 8. 3 plus 3 is 6. Wasn't that close. All right. Well, I'm excited because I'm gonna play this 3rd Tail Bash. I'm gonna do it. Give it to me. I have options here. It's a 2 versus 2. I want to get it up to 3 versus 2, so I have the advantage. But I don't want to aim a strike because that will knock my rank from 3 to 2, and I will not be able to do this handy little bonus effect. So I'm going to get that. I could either get that +1 by Siphoning Life or by Gaia's Wisdom. I like my Gaia's Breath has been doing a lot of work for me this match, so I will keep that out as long as I can. I'll go ahead and Siphon Life. Uses an action, but now I have a 3 versus 2 advantage. And full strength tail. Roar! Yes. All right. So not only did I do a ton of damage, 9 damage, excellent. But he will have to discard a card. Which zone do I want to discard? Now this is where I wish I had that constrict card, because I would then choose hand. I think his egg is here. I would choose hand, make him discard a card, and then on his turn I could constrict him for that last card. Although he would draw a card, so it might not work out. But in this case, regardless. I don't have any counters anyway. Just kind of thinking through different strategies out loud. I'm going to go ahead and make him discard a card from his hoard. Because that's a little tempo loss, he'll have to replace that card before he can shed skin. Okay. Sticking in close range. Why? Why are you sticking in close? What do you got? Are you just concerned because of your essence? Oh, that's why. That's why. Okay, luckily, a lot just went on there. So what you saw, and I think he's got another one in his deck, so we can take a look at it. He just he played a stun card, which is just a card, an effect he can play on his use action phase, And on discarding it, he draws battle value. If he drew a 5 or a 6, he drew a 4, so it failed. I'd have to skip my next turn, so he would get 2 turns in a row. Can only be used in close range, though. That's why he stayed in close. So lucky for me, I was not stunned. Then for his second action, he rested, so he regained some essence. Then he swung with his Ember Breath, and it looks like he hit me. Yes, he did. I'm down to 13 total essence. Now I'm down to 16 total essence. No, yes, because it's my hand and deck. I gotta stick in close. Gotta keep wailing away with that tail. I'm on the tail bash plan here. Nope. Passing. Sorry, thinking ahead to my actions. I do have 2 tail slashes, but I don't need to slash and bash. Slash and bash. I'm gonna hoard them both. Don't need them. Don't want them. Oh, I forgot about pumping up my attack attributes with Siphon Life. Probably should have only hoarded 1 card. Whoopsie. Alright, well this will be a gamble. Slight advantage to him. We're gonna go for, ooh, 8 cards. 8 cards. Yikes. If I do a 3, I'm gonna get down to 4 cards. And I lose 7 if I get hit. Yo. You know what? I have my 2 bursts though. I can always burst into safe. I'm gonna go for it. Do it, do it. Yes. Alright, now I have these burst cards. I can burst into, ooh, where do I want to go? I'll get rid of that horde. I can burst into safe range so that I will not get hit. Yep, let's burst. Sucker. Yeah, I'm a coward. I'll admit it. But I only have 4 essence in my deck and 5 in my hand. So if I get hit with a rank 2, I'd get 7 damage. Yikes! Nope. 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 Oh. You nasty. Oh. Okay. Okay. That was a turn. That was a turn. Alright, so in 1 turn he got rid of my gift and my event. He got rid of my gift with a Ren gift card. And he got rid of Sage Towers. I mean, he got rid of my Gaia's Breath, my valuable Gaia's Breath that has been doing so much work for me with his own event, Sage Towers, which coincidentally also counters my discard plan because he'll be drawing a card every turn. Every turn. So unless I can start making him discard 2 a turn, he's going to keep recovering the card I make him discard. So that sucked. And now without the defensive boon that my Gaia's Breath was giving me, I'm at a loss here. He's got a 2-to-1 advantage for his breath attacks. 2-to-2 on his melee attacks, but 2-to-1, not great. I have to be very careful. I'm in safe now. If I wanted to go all the way back to close, it would cost me 3 essence. Yeah, so I'm gonna stick in safe. I only have 6. I'm gonna do a little. I'm reeling a little bit from this loss. I'm gonna stick in safe. I'm not gonna burst. I'm gonna go ahead and shed my skin. Nice, 3 frost breaths now. That's an option. I do have that +1 breath now. I just got it from shedding my skin. And next stage, I will get +1 spirit and +1 ability. 4 and 4, which is great. So yeah, blue adepts, they don't get more than +1 breath naturally. So that's where you need to do aim strike. You need these Gaia's Wisdom. You need that Siphon Life. If you're going to go with the breath attack, frost breath is the only breath attack available to a blue adept. If you're going to go that route, you need to look for cards that give you attack advantages for sure. I will go ahead and play Gaia's Wisdom to counter his Sage Towers, which will put me back on the discard plan. It also gives me that +1, so now it's 3-2, advantage me. Oh, okay. Well, this is an example. You see neither attack is glowing. Why is that? Because I'm not in close range. Remember, I stayed in safe range, so I can't use my attacks. So, gotta pass. End phase, end my turn. Alright, sorry, feeling the music, Alright, he spent a lot of essence to move back to close range again. Why close? Oh, do you have another stun card? You do, don't you? Do you have stun again? No? What are you doing? Why did you move all the way back to close? Do you have a counter? I'm highly suspicious. Maybe he just decided to hoard his. What is this card? What are you doing, Corlock? Very suspicious. Well, I'm staying close. Thanks for spending the 3 essence for me. Will not burst. Now I could go full-blown Frost Breath here. Frost Breath does a ton of damage. You also see at rank 3 I get +1 breath, so that would help me pump up my breath attribute as well. I get +1 breath whenever I attempt the attack, so instead of a 1 I'd have a 2, naturally. It would take me a few turns though, a couple turns. Even if I did 2 Frost Breaths this turn, I'd have to wait to do my 3rd one next turn, so... I have an Ice Blood here too. It's fun. Find another one. That's the attack that I mentioned at the beginning that reduces max hand size. I'm gonna go ahead and hoard 1. I'll play 1 Frost Breath. I'll just tease it. In case if I want to pile on next turn. Maybe I should have rested to get the essence. That probably would have been a smarter plan. Especially since I'm going to spend 4 now. Oh, you had to draw that stupid 6. Alright. I'm in the danger zone again. I might have to use this burst. I don't have any counters anyway, so I might have to use this burst to get back to safe range. I'm assuming he's going to go to distant again. Maybe he won't. No, he's staying in close. It's making me nervous. So now that was smart, because now this burst doesn't do anything. No matter what. Even if I only have 1 burst card. If I had 2 burst cards, I could burst to distant and then burst again to safe. But I only have 1, so I can only get to distant, and distant is all he needs for Fire Breath or Ember Breath. I am in trouble. I'm in trouble. Might have gotten greedy with that Tail Bash, or greedy with that playing that Frost Breath. I should have rested just to get that little bit more. Ah! Oh no! God! Sage Tower keeps getting, because he's got so few cards in his deck. The Sage Tower keeps getting cycled in, and he keeps drawing it again. At the end of the game, this is where paying attention to what cards you're cycling in is huge, because he keeps getting this 6 back in his deck. It's killing me. So I got hit with rank 2. It does 7 damage. I had 4 in my deck originally. I drew 1 of them for battle value, so I was only able to discard 3. I can't satisfy the damage cost, so now I have to go to hand or hoard. He chooses as his own. I choose the card. I only have 1. So that's the 4th card. Now I still have 3 to discard because I still have to satisfy that damage cost. I have nothing in my hoard, nothing in my deck, so now I gotta go to my hand. Man. Alright. Let's think about this. I'm going to regain 3 cards at the beginning of my turn. So if I put, and I'm going to draw a card. I don't want to draw Ice Blood because I want that 6 in. So I'm going to discard that now. Which card do I want to draw? I'll go ahead and put Ren Gift in. Oh wait, this card will get returned, so this will be the card that I draw, because it's going to get returned, and then I don't think I can afford to spend cards on Frostbite. I know I teased it, but I think I'm going to put that. I'd rather have that 5 back in my deck. Alright, so the top card is Tail Slash, which I'll draw now. Then it should be Feast, Burst, and Ice Blood. Not Feast, sorry, Frost Breath, Burst, and... No, oh my gosh, I can't even remember what cards I discarded. It should be Frost Breath. What was the other card? Was it Ren Gift? It was a 3. I know it was a 3. And then Ice Blood underneath that. Alright. Now I'm sticking close. I can't afford to do anything. I'm gonna rest. I have 2 actions. If I rest now, I'll get 5 more cards in. So I'm gonna do that. Alright, so now I have to be careful here. If I do a full blown tail bash, I'll blow past all of my cards, which I just stacked nicely on top of my deck. I'd ideally like to use no more than 2. So I'll spend 2 and then I'll draw Ice Blood, which would be a 6. See what I'm doing here? This is where stacking your deck near the end. This is where you can do that, because now you know what cards are in your deck because you have so few of them. So you know as you cycle cards in, you can kind of stack your deck a little bit. So I need something that does 2. I don't think I have anything that does 2. Oh man. I played myself. All that planning. Even if I do a oh man. Alright, even if I aim strike, it still would cost me 3. Which means I will spend... Oh man. What do I have? So what was my 4th card? Oh god. Maybe I should just do this and not... I know the top card's a 5. And just poke him for a damage. What do I got here? He's got 7 essence left. He'll draw 1 to resolve battle value, so I need to do 6 damage. You know what? If I aim strike, I'll do 6 damage. So I just have to. I don't know what that 4th card is, but we're gonna bank on it. We're gonna go for it. Yes! It was a 3. But he only drew a 1. Woo! I almost played myself there. Alright. I won! I claimed a dragon egg. That was a match. 14 wins, 6 losses, still 1 win away from my blue lair. Maybe we'll do that on the next stream. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed watching this blue dragon match. You saw a number of strategies. You didn't see a lot of comboing with Taunting Breath this time. I think you did on the last stream. If you're interested in seeing a different blue Adept strategy, check out my previous stream. Yeah, so you saw some of the changes and updates in 1.08. Some of the things coming up in the next update. I don't want to call it 1.09 because I'm not sure. There might be an update between, I'll just say the next content update. I will be adding deck lists to your lair because, hey, I'll admit it, that was a total brain fart on my part. Not adding that. I'm coming from the tabletop. This DragonClash PC game is a translation of the tabletop game, so I'm used to having the decks in front of me. Used to having players have those decks in front of them. So it was a total oversight on my part. Luckily, it's early access, and that's part of what early access is for, is continuing to develop the game and get feedback and improve it. One of the things I'll be doing is I'll be adding deck lists. It'll be like a little deck icon of some kind here. You can click it and you'll be able to browse through the deck list for your Red Breather and your Blue Adept. Also, probably here, I might shuffle these buttons around a little bit, but I'll have a counter of some kind that shows how far you are away from the next boss battle. So I know, for example, I was the boss, the Crone specifically, pops up after every 3 cumulative wins. So if I win twice with my Blue Adept and 1 with my Red Breather, the next match will be the Crone. So I know for now I just faced her last night, so this was a win. So I had 3, now I have 2 more wins to go. So in this case, an icon will pop up. It would probably show maybe like 2 question marks because it'll be random opponents and then a big Crone picture. Or maybe I'll just have a picture of the Crone with a 3 or 2, 1, next to it to show you how many you are away. I think it might be cooler to show the progression though. I am still working on the Silver Channeler. It's in progress. It's been kind of secondary because my primary focus has been the new player experience and getting additional features in to help ease players into that. Since, as I mentioned, DragonClash does throw you into the deep end. It doesn't baby you. It doesn't hold your hand. It assumes you kind of know what you're doing. And if you don't, that's fine. You can always concede the match. You can just play and figure it out on your own. You can, I mentioned it, there is a full-blown rule book here. You can read through that and teach yourself the game that way. I am working on a tutorial match. I'm not sure when that is coming along. Silver Dragons might actually be in before that, only because, as I mentioned before, the tutorial is taking an immense amount of custom assets, and I need to be happy with it. If it's just, it's got to be I don't want it to be a full-blown, half-hour match. It's kind of pointless. So, and I think that's too much. I don't think anyone will sit through that, which would just mean it'd be wasted effort on my part. So I have to kind of figure out how I want to pose that. On the other hand, maybe if I'm able to get in enough of these little clarifications at the beginning and features to kind of ease your way in, maybe I won't even need it. But that's something I'm waiting to. I am interested on your feedback. Do you even want a tutorial match, or do you just want more tool tips and hints at the beginning to kind of, or reminders to kind of ease yourself in? Where are you getting tripped up? I'm curious. So yeah, please do let me know. Email me, post in the Steam forums, send me a tweet, join our Facebook group and drop a note there. I am all over the place. I'm very interested in your feedback. As I mentioned, this is just the beginning for DragonClash. It's not an end. So the game will be improving. The game will be fleshed out. The game will have more content. That's what early access is about. So yeah, so next update, there'll be probably some more features based on your feedback. There'll be that boss counter. There'll be the deck lists. I don't want to promise the Silver Dragon for the next update. I'm thinking it might be 2 content updates away. And then the Brown Mauler will follow the Silver Adept. But the Silver Channeler will be a fun addition for sure. Okay, thanks everybody, and I will see you on the flip side. Happy hunting.